In today's video, we dive into a heart-stopping encounter that begins as a routine traffic stop, but quickly turns into a race against time. Picture this. A dedicated police officer pulls over a speeding car, only to discover that the driver is a frantic nurse rushing to the hospital. The reason? Her passenger is a young boy in desperate need of medical attention. But here's the twist. When the officer looks closer, he realizes the boy is his own son. What unfolds next is a gripping tale of urgency, justice, and the lengths a father will go to protect his child. Stick around as we unravel this emotional story that will keep you on the edge of your seat, leading to an ending you won't see coming. The officer's mind races as he processes the shocking revelation. Just moments ago, he had been doing his job, enforcing the law to keep the road safe. Now he's staring into the terrified eyes of his own son, pale and struggling to breathe. The nurse, equally stunned, explains that the boy collapsed suddenly, and she had no time to waste. Every second matters. Torn between his duty as a police officer and the urgency of his son's condition, the officer makes a split-second decision. He radios for backup, leaving the cruiser lights flashing as he helps the nurse rush his son to the nearest hospital. Along the way, questions swirl in his mind. How did this happen? Who is responsible? As they speed toward the emergency room, the officer knows that finding those answers will be the next step, because someone has to pay for putting his son in danger. As they arrive at the hospital, the officer watches helplessly as his son is whisked away by a team of doctors. The nurse, visibly shaken, stays behind to offer more details. She explains that she was called to a house where the boy had been staying, a routine home visit that quickly turned into a nightmare. He had collapsed suddenly, and there was no clear cause. The officer's thoughts spiral. Was this an accident, or was something more sinister at play? Back at the station, the officer's colleagues are piecing together a timeline. The boy had been staying with a babysitter while his father worked late shifts. The sitter, a seemingly kind woman, now becomes a focal point in the unfolding investigation. Was there negligence? Was something overlooked? Every lead raises more questions. And as the officer waits for news on his son's condition, he knows one thing for certain. He won't stop until he uncovers the truth. As the investigation deepens, unsettling details begin to emerge. The babysitter, initially cooperative, starts to evade questions, her stories becoming inconsistent. The officer's instincts tell him there's more beneath the surface, but he struggles to keep his emotions in check. Every clue, every piece of evidence points to something darker. He learns that his son had been left alone for extended periods, and a suspicious visitor was seen entering the house on the day of the incident. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, the boy remains in critical condition. The doctors are working tirelessly, but time is running out. The officer, torn between staying by his son's side and pursuing the investigation, is faced with an impossible choice. His determination to find out what happened fuels him, but the weight of not knowing if his son will pull through is unbearable. As the pieces of the puzzle start to fit together, the officer prepares for a confrontation that could change everything. Just when the officer thinks he's getting closer to the truth, a shocking new detail surfaces. The visitor seen entering the house wasn't just a stranger. It was someone the officer knew well. A fellow officer, someone he trusted, had been at the babysitter's house that day. The revelation sends a chill down his spine. Why would a trusted colleague be involved? What could possibly connect them to his son's sudden collapse? Determined to get answers, the officer confronts his colleague, but the conversation quickly turns tense. The colleague insists it was a routine check-in, but the inconsistencies in his story are too glaring to ignore. The officer is now faced with the unthinkable. Someone within the force, someone he considered a friend, might be involved in endangering his son. The stakes have never been higher, and the line between trust and betrayal is razor thin. As the tension builds, the officer knows he's running out of time to uncover the full truth before it's too late. The officer, fueled by desperation, digs deeper into his colleague's involvement. Late one night, he uncovers surveillance footage from a nearby street camera. What he sees sends shockwaves through him. His colleague had entered the house carrying a vial of medication. Confronting him again, the officer demands the truth. Under mounting pressure, the colleague finally admits it. The babysitter had asked for a favor, claiming the boy needed the medication urgently, but she'd given the wrong dosage, leading to his collapse. The officer, now knowing the full story, rushes back to the hospital, hoping it's not too late. The doctors, having stabilized his son, revealed that the incorrect medication had a near-fatal reaction, but with the right treatment, his son will recover. Relieved yet furious, the officer ensures both the babysitter and his colleague face justice for their negligence and deception. Just when it seems the ordeal is over, the final twist strikes. The nurse who saved his son reveals that the medication mix-up wasn't accidental. It was part of a larger scheme targeting vulnerable families. The officer, now armed with this chilling revelation, vows to uncover the full network behind it, knowing the fight for justice is far from over. With his son safe and recovering, the officer feels a wave of relief, but the weight of what he's uncovered lingers. The babysitter and his colleague are held accountable, but the revelation of a larger scheme drives him to take further action. Determined to protect other families from similar danger, he collaborates with the hospital and local authorities to investigate the network behind the fraudulent medication. As weeks pass, the officer's son regains his strength, and life begins to return to normal. The experience, however, leaves a lasting impact on the officer, reshaping his sense of duty and justice. He becomes a vocal advocate for tighter regulations on medical care in homes, ensuring no other child suffers like his son did. Reflecting on the ordeal, the officer realizes the importance of trust and vigilance. His journey, though filled with unexpected turns, becomes a powerful reminder of resilience, family, and the relentless pursuit of justice.